What's up, Fallible Nation? Welcome to Fallible Nation Live, guys. I'm so excited. It is another Monday night, and man, I got to admit, I'm tired. I'm still really tired from last weekend with the Phoenix conference. It's just been a crazy week, man. Trying to catch up and cross T's and dot I's and get back into normal life and try and feel normal again. Let me know. My headphones aren't working right tonight. Let me know if I'm coming across okay, if you guys can hear me or not. Sorry, if I feel a little low energy, I'm getting ramped up though. I got the coffee. We're good. We're going to get through this one. So guys, I want to touch on some kind of touchy subjects tonight, but hey, I step on toes is kind of what I do here. So if you didn't expect that, you haven't been around a whole lot. Let us know you're joining in. I see Jared's joining us. I see Shirley's joining us. Sarah's here as always. We're jumping in tonight. Now, guys, I want to talk to you about some thoughts here, okay? So first thought was, when I was a child, I spoke and thought and reasoned as a child. But when I grew up, I put away childish things. 1 Corinthians 13:11. Now, whether you're a Bible person or not, what I want you to tune into here is the fact that while a lot of people physically grow up, they still hold on to some really childish ways. In tonight's show, we're going to delve into the topic of emotional immaturity and how it can limit your life in numerous ways. Now, many people struggle with emotional immaturity without even realizing that they are. And this can lead to a cycle of scapegoating, blaming others for your problems. And it can also limit your ability to move in a positive direction. You see this especially in what I like to call the zealot stage of belief, but we'll dig into that in a little bit. So guys, as we explore the signs of emotional immaturity, I invite you to join us on this journey because it's a journey we're going to take together. And we're going to dig into, some issues, including the inability to regulate emotions, difficulty with conflict resolution, and even a tendency to have a set mindset. But it's not all doom and gloom tonight, I promise. We're also going to provide some practical tips and strategies to help you overcome emotional immaturity, even if you don't realize that it's affecting your life, so that you can live a more fulfilling life and so that you can just start to become the best version of yourself. So if you're ready to break free from the limitations of emotional immaturity, then, well, without further ado, let's get into it, shall we? All right, and I see Kathy's joining us tonight. I love it when you guys tune in. And if you guys, no matter what platform you're on, okay, if you're on Facebook or YouTube or even LinkedIn, we go to LinkedIn now as well. Be sure, jump in the conversation. Let us know you're here. Sound off, jump in the conversation, because that's where this gets really interesting. I share some stuff with you, but we get a lot out of the community here. So let us know you're listening or that you're watching or joining with us tonight and become involved in the conversation. And that just makes a better show. Also, if you have a question, there is a form, there's a link in wherever platform you're watching this on in the description of the video where you can leave a question in case you got to leave early and you want to make sure it gets answered. And you're not sure you're going to be able to stay for the whole thing. So that way it gets answered and you can go back and watch it. Or you can request to jump in and actually talk to us live during the Q&A portion of the show. That's always available to you. And as always during the week, there's actually on the first page of my website, www.thefallibleman.com, there is actually a form specifically for leaving questions just for this show. So that way, if it just hits you, because I'm that guy, right? My memory stinks sometimes. So I'm that guy. If I don't do it when I'm thinking about it, it's gone. I woke up one morning at 4:00 in the morning and pulled out my phone and started taking notes for the Monday show because I knew if I didn't take them then, I would not remember them in a little while. And I actually did that this morning for a different project I'm working on. I was on my way to my Monday morning Bible study I like to go to. And I stopped at the gas station. I just pulled off the road, pulled out my phone and started typing. So if you think of a question during the week that you'd love to have answered on the show, and that goes for anything we talk about here on Fallible Nation, anything man, husband, father, anything that involves your life growing in a positive direction or concerns, you can leave it there. So that way you don't have to wait. And remember, come Monday, you can actually leave that question with us long before that. And that way it's just taken care of and be answered on the next show. So there's always that for you guys, but join in the conversation tonight. I don't want this to be just like a bummer show because we're talking about kind of a negative situation, because it doesn't have to stay in a negative situation. So I want to share a paradox with you. Okay. Get your thoughts on this. And this, like I said, this is an interactive show, especially tonight. I want to get your thoughts on this. All right. This is a paradox to me. We're raised in this world with certain expectations of how we behave, how we act, right? I have little ones. I remember as a kid, right? You're raised to be polite, respectful, to not interrupt people, to treat people with kindness, to obey the laws, to listen, to share, to dress appropriately for whatever situation you're going to. Or maybe I'm the only one who had parents who are like, no, 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 you can't wear holy clothes to church or school, right? We're taught to go with courtesy, and right, there's a certain level in which we're taught to behave in an acceptable society. Then we turn around as adults and we reward others who, by our own definition of what bad behavior is, we reward them in our society by making them stars and giving them attention and highlighting them, right? We celebrate them and give them fame and all these money because they stood out for something stupid. And rule breakers are often not judged by whether they followed the rules or broke the law, but if it worked in their favor, right? If it worked in enough people's favor, then we totally ignore that they broke the law, even, right? People act out all the time and become famous because of it, and we just laugh about their actions. Now, I don't know about you, but that seems like a paradox to me, right? Most people these days are skipping the part of the saying that when I grew up, I put away childish things. We have kids in adult bodies, right? Adulting has become a ridiculous mocking term for growing up and living life as a normal, contributing member of society. So I'm not sure where we've gone down this rabbit hole where we reward this kind of nonsense and this kind of crazy behavior that we teach our children is not acceptable. But now it's like, it's not acceptable when you're a kid, but once you're an adult, hey, that can make you insta famous, right? I don't know where that came from, but I know that has to do with the fact that we have a lot of kids running around in adult bodies. We really do. We got a lot of adults who never actually did the growing up part. And there's a lot that can, contribute to that. And obviously we can't deconstruct the entire world here, guys, but my concern with that is the emotional immaturity, because usually that's the part that comes up last, right? We get to a certain age. I was this height by the time I was in like 8th or 9th grade, at least. I think 8th. I don't think I've actually gotten taller since 8th grade because I can still wear clothes like I wore in 8th grade. So, I grew a little wider, but I didn't grow any taller. Our bodies stop at a certain point, but that emotional maturity doesn't always catch up when we become adults. And so we have a lot of really crazy things going on in society these days. So I want to share with you 7 signs of emotional immaturity and why I believe they're signs of emotional immaturity. If I miss one or you disagree, let me know. Let's talk about it, right? Let's have the conversation. Number 1, zealot-like devotion to things that are not as simple as being black and white. Right? Let me give you an example because I know that's a mouthful. So paleo is the only good diet. Nothing else works. Nothing else is healthy. Have you heard someone talk about a diet like that? There's only one right way to exercise your diet. This is the way it has to be done. I know you think you know another way, but this is the only right way to do this. Right? Have you met people who deal in absolutes as far as like with things that are really kind of a preference? With my background and working with people in some training as a like trainer in the gym, I can tell you the diet that works for you is the right diet. Okay. Whether that's paleo, whether that's keto, whether that's, if it fits my macro, there are a lot of ways to lose weight successfully if that's your goal, or to just feed yourself correctly to feed your body. And the most correct way is the one you're going to do, right? It's the one you're going to follow. But we have people who will get out, knock down, drag out fights over something as stupid as dieting. Doesn't make sense, right? we have people who will swear up and down there is only one way to do something that we can show them over and over again. There are other ways to do it. There are very few things that are absolutes in black and white. Really. I mean, I'm a person who likes things in black and white, but I can tell you that truthfully, there are only so many things in this world that are as simple as it's black or white, right? It's yes or no, it's right or wrong, period. Right? But if you're dealing with a person who goes to that extreme in their thought process, or when you're talking to them about things, that's emotional immaturity. That means they've found what works for them or what they think is right, and they don't have the emotional capacity to handle being wrong or argued with or disproven. Number two is getting angry over your ideas being challenged. If your only response to others questioning your thoughts or your beliefs or ideas is anger or lashing out or escalating to like making fun of or whatever, that's emotional immaturity. Excuse me. Emotionally immature people cannot handle being challenged over what they believe because they don't have the emotional capacity to deal with that. Number three is being selfish. The world is much, 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 much bigger than any one person. It doesn't revolve around any of us. Galileo was pretty sure about that. And some of the other great scientists in history are pretty solid on that one, right? It doesn't revolve around any one thing or one person. And maturity allows for us to know that and know that we're not always the front and center of everything. But people who are incredibly selfish, all you got to do is pause for a minute and think, who else is incredibly selfish? A really little kid, right? That's an emotional immaturity issue. Now, not always indicative, but frequently associated with an emotionally immature individual is a closed mindset. It's important to figure out what you believe, what you stand for, what's an absolute to you, and why you believe it is an absolute. However, if you're presented with a logical and supported, dispassionate argument that can be validated, then you have to at least weigh that, even if you're really sure. If you can't at least give that some due process, guys, it's an emotional immaturity. You're afraid of being proven wrong. You're afraid of it changing the way you feel about yourself because you were sure about it, or unsettling your belief system because you were so sure about it. That like I said, it's not the only reason people have closed mindset, but it's a good giveaway. Number five is a disregard for others, like entirely. We actually have labels for this in psychology, right? But truthfully, only emotionally broken people have a complete disregard for the well-being of others. It's emotional immaturity. Or in an extreme case, like an actual psychological issue. 6 is blaming everyone else. Now, Jared, I'm going to step on toes here because I know you love astrology, brother. But have you ever heard, oh, well, I can't help it, I'm a Gemini? Or, oh, yeah, Virgo, right? My goodness, I hate it when people blame their actions on their astrological sign. There are a lot of great things that come out of astrology, but trying to blame your nonsense on your astrological sign just kills me. Or, well, they made me do it. Have you ever actually told somebody when they said, did they put a gun to your head? Like I've caught myself saying it because I'm just so tired of people making excuses. And one of my favorites I hear from my children, so-and-so did this, so I had to do this in response. Right? No. You didn't have to. You wanted to do this in response. You didn't have to do anything just because so-and-so was a pain or so-and-so was not nice. You didn't have to react that way. You chose to do that. Number 7, emotional roller coasters. Now we all know these people. Like they're up, they're down, they're sideways. There's woo. It is a roller coaster ride, guys. I love roller coasters, more than the next guy on average. I mean, I love roller coasters, but this is a ride I want no part of, because we all know these people who are just like all over the place. And it's because they can't emotionally regulate themselves. They just haven't developed that level of maturity. Now, whew, negative part of the show over. All right. So don't be totally bummed out. There it is. There's the negative nonsense of the show. I told you it was coming. Now you know it's actually coming. There we go. We got through it. Yay! You survived. It's cool. Don't worry about that now. Now we're going to get to the better part of the show. So, what are we trying to reach, right? What is an emotionally mature individual? I came across this definition when I was getting ready for the show. It's a direct quote from a psychiatrist. It will scroll across the bottom of your screen because it is too long for me to just put on banner. So it says his take on it was, maturity is the behavioral expression of emotional health and wisdom. It is the capacity to know one's own emotional experience, to then be oriented by this experience to some aspect of the truth, to then place this truth within the context of other truths, and finally to act in accordance with one's values. That was Dr. Eric S. Hanzo. He's a clinical psychologist, I guess, in Seattle, actually. It was a really interesting paper he wrote. He also went on to say that we need maturity within ourselves for our own sake. All too often, we act out of what we are feeling in ways that take us further from our own well-being. Now, that was, like I said, we couldn't put that on a regular, like, just pop-up banner. There's just way too much of that. But I'm curious what you guys thought of that. And I can read it again if you want me to. Let me know in the comments. Speaking of which, I'm not jumping into the comments as much tonight, so let me jump over. Shirley says, a lot of this sounds like control issues. The only person we have any control over is ourselves, right? Control issues actually frequently come out from emotionally immature people. It's a way of controlling their world, right? They try to micromanage and control other people because they don't have their own emotional stability. So we cannot force other adults to believe as we do. We need to accept others for who they are and who they can be. Very true, Shirley. But yes, a lot of that comes from control. A lot of control issues stem from emotional immaturity and emotional instability, right? It's a desperation to control the things they can control because at their core, they don't feel like they have control. And a lot of times they don't know what it is they don't have control over. Sometimes it's an external force. A lot of times it's an internal force that they just haven't mastered yet. Like I said, emotional immaturity. So how do we do this, right? The good thing is, like most things in life, it's an exercise in skill practice, right? It's something you can improve. It's something you can grow in. Even if you have some emotional immaturity in your life, and a lot of us probably have some emotional immaturity that we need to work on in our lives. It peaks its head at different times. None of us are perfect, right? Most of us try and have a good grasp on it and keep it under control most of the time. But every now and then that emotional immaturity comes out in one aspect of our life or another. Not necessarily all those things, but right, we usually see it peak its head when we're not at our very, very best, right? In extreme situations, high stress, hard times, however you want to say it. The good news is we can always work through it, right? We can get better. We can make ourselves stronger at this. We can make ourselves emotionally more mature. We can stabilize that part of our life. You don't have to be emotionally mature your whole life. Most of us start this journey as children, right? It's one of the things that parents start teaching us is how to handle our emotions. We've talked about that on this channel, that it's one of the things we as parents try and teach our children. Your parents try to teach you, most likely, how to react to things. In fact, I've laid it on pretty heavy on dads. Like, hey, your kids are watching how you react to things, and they're building their own gauge of how they're going to react to things and how they're going to respond to forces, negative, good, bad, up, down, from the way you do it. You have to kind of set that example. So a lot of us start growing there, but it can be stunted or something can happen, right, where that gets messed up. So how do we continue forward as adults? Number one, to build your emotional maturity is you need to establish your foundation. This is a really important base. Before you worry about the other couple I have on this list, this is an important base. You need to know what you believe or think about a great deal of things. But like we're talking about core principle beliefs. It is shocking to me how many adults don't actually have a core principle identity as far as their belief system. And that may or may not include a religion. That may or may not include patriotism or something like that, right? Your core values, your core beliefs, what really makes you tick. It was the first show I ever actually did. It was really bad. You can go back and laugh at me. But it was the first show I ever did. We need to know what we believe or think. And it's something that a lot of adults don't do or never get to. So establish what is absolute to you, what you are looking for when you're looking, let me say that right. When you're looking for absolutes, weigh the questions such as, is the world going to end or like catastrophically fail if this is challenged, right? Is it that important to me? Does it work for me in something meaningful for me to be successful, but other people can be successful in other ways, right? Because that may not be that you just found what worked for you. It doesn't necessarily make a core belief for you, right? So when you're seeking this out, guys, and this is I'm not going to lie and say this is a quick exercise, but you need to know what you believe, what you stand on, what you stand for, and what your core values and beliefs are. Because once you establish those, you're going to find out that a lot of the other things that weigh on you in life are gray areas. They're not necessarily essential black and white things, right? I believe racism is wrong. It's a core value for me. Anything that is racist, I don't believe there's ever a reason, ever, to judge somebody by the color of their skin. It's wrong. Where they came from, where they grew up, it's wrong. It's a core belief for me. To me, that is an absolute black and white issue. But there aren't a lot of absolute black and white issues in the world. There are a handful. So decide what your foundation is, because that will guide you a lot in the rest of this list. Jump back to comments real quick. Andrew says, if you can't accept anything happening to you, you can't accept anything happening to you if you can't accept yourself. Absolutely. The relationship with yourself is where it starts. You have to establish that. Shirley says, several wise people have told me that it's a great idea to have 2 or 3 mentors who are in life where you want to be and glean the best from them. I would absolutely agree with that. Sorry, my nose itchy. I would absolutely agree with that, Shirley. Not everybody you pick out is going to be a definite, this is a mentor or even know that you're their mentor. But it's absolutely important that you find people to look up to that you agree and align with their core beliefs. That's really important to model after and learn from, right? You can learn from a lot of people without them ever knowing that you are looking up to them, but it's really important that you align with people who share similar core beliefs to you, because that will help dictate how they got to everything else that you want to model after them. Number 2 is to practice gratitude, right? I say practice gratitude a lot. I think is an answer for a lot of things. And maybe you think that it's like, Brent, practicing gratitude is not the answer for everything. I beg to differ. I think practicing gratitude changes everything about you. Gratitude helps shape our perspective. It helps affect our look on life. It helps affect the way we look at other things. And so by practicing gratitude, it will help stabilize your emotional maturity, because you will have a different mindset when you look through the lens of life. When you look at absolutes, when you look at situations, practicing gratitude regularly, it puts us in a positive mindset where we can appreciate things. Emotional immaturity struggles with appreciating things, right? We talked back about that selfish streak and emotional immaturity. emotional maturity struggles with gratitude. Practicing gratitude helps reshape the lens in which you view everything else, and it'll actually help stabilize emotions, because if it's a default go-to to practice gratitude, then it's going to impact a lot of what you're doing otherwise. And before I forget, because I'm going to forget, guys, today is the very last day to get early bird pricing for the Phoenix 2024. We are now a year from it, but literally the price goes up tomorrow. Today is the absolute last day to go to our website, www.thefouledman.com/thephoenix, and get tickets now at the early bird price for Standing Strong in the Winds of Change, the Phoenix Men's Conference 2024. People are already signing up for it. We already have people registered for it. Tonight is the absolute last night for early bird pricing. It goes away and it will never be this cheap again, guys. So I have to throw that out there. I know I talked about the Phoenix, right? We just wrapped up the Phoenix and you thought I was done talking about it. No, we're planning next year already. We're already there, guys. So early bird pricing ends tonight. Got to get it now if you want to get that early bird pricing in. Number 3, practice humility. If you want to build emotional maturity, practice humility. Know who you are, right? We're going back to that first point, right? Know who you are, what you believe, and what you know. Then take a breath and accept that you can't possibly know it all. I know a few of us think we do. The world is far too vast for you to be an expert at everything. Be glad and be grateful that there are people who know things better than you that you can learn from when you're faced with that situation, right? That should be exciting that there are people who actually know that and can teach you those things, or who know this better than you. I am so grateful that there are people who know certain elements better than I do, because I can barely keep track of everything I'm doing, much less like my marketing guy. My marketing guy knows marketing inside, outside, upside, downside. He's amazing at his job. I'm an idiot when it comes to marketing. I have no idea how to market, right? And I'm glad I don't have to learn. I'm glad I can defer to somebody else. Take a step further and revel in the fact that the world is too big for you to know everything. Life would be stupidly boring if it was simple enough for one person to master it all. Like, depressingly so. Can you imagine if life was so simple that one person could actually like master it all? I mean, just imagine that scope, okay? The world's that big, right? It would suck. We'd all be the same and it'd be boring as all get out. Andrew says, oversimplification. Practicing gratitude allows you to not sweat the small stuff. Absolutely, Andrew. I agree with that entirely. I've tried to like just make a list of things that improvements gratitude makes to your life, and I just keep adding things to it. The longer I go, the more actively I try and practice active gratitude, the more it's like turmeric. Like it's the turmeric of practices, right? They've still found no end to why turmeric is great for you and all the amazing benefits it has for your body as an herb. Gratitude is the same way. There's just no end to it as far as I'm concerned. Number 4, empower yourself, right? We're talking about emotional immaturity. You want to empower yourself. You want to be more emotionally mature. You have to empower yourself. You have to take responsibility for everything and hold yourself accountable. This gives you the power to find the answers and to make things right and to do things the way you want to do and to take control of your life. If this happened to you because like Sagittarius, man, what are you going to do, bro? Right? Then you're screwed. No matter what you do, you're doomed to a predetermined fate divined by your star sign, right? That's depressing. That's just a horrible concept. If you own it, if you empower yourself by taking control, by taking accountability, by taking responsibility, by taking ownership of everything, then you have the power to do anything you want, right? That's an emotionally mature thing. An emotionally immature response, so-and-so made me do it. No. Emotionally mature response is, you know what? I made the wrong choice. I did that. That's my fault. and I'm responsible for the consequences of it, and I'll have to deal with that. But I made that choice, and it was the wrong choice. But by owning that, I now have the ability to make the right choice. I have the power to make the right choice moving forward because I own the fact that I made the wrong choice. The wrong choice didn't just happen. I made the wrong choice. So therefore, I can make the right choice when faced with it again. You see the difference? That's an emotionally empowering thought process and emotional maturity. Sarah says the most brilliant people on the planet know more than the rest of us just how much they don't. Okay, I got too many pauses. Sorry, my brain's slow tonight. The most brilliant people on the planet know more so than the rest of us just how much they don't know. But this should fill us with wonder and curiosity to learn more. I agree wholeheartedly. A lot of people are not really comfortable with learning. I'm all for more learning, but empower yourself, guys. Number 5, developing emotional maturity. Be intentional about looking for more perspectives than the one you have. One of my all-time favorite scenes, right? It's not all-time favorite movie, but one of my all-time favorite scenes from a movie came from the kids' movie Big Hero 6. One of the characters is just frustrated and hung up. I've actually played the clip on here, and YouTube took it down just as soon as I did it, so I won't do it again. But one of the characters gets hung up. He's like, "Oh, I'm never going to get this figured out." Right. And his older brother's like, "Well, dude, you just 12 years old, you're washed up, right? You might as well just throw in the towel. It's all over because you don't got it now." And he walks over and he picks him up, throws him over his shoulder and hangs him by his knees from his back and starts bouncing around with this little brother hanging off him upside down, like flailing. And he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm changing your perspective. Use that big brain of yours and think your way around it. Change the way you're looking at the problem." Guys, it was an incredibly powerful moment in a kid's movie. I wish I could do that to people sometimes. I'm sure I would get in a lot of trouble. I'm probably not big enough to pick up all the people that I would like to do that to. But I try actively to see things from as many perspectives as possible. Now, I can't see every angle. I try. I'm very data driven. So the more I can see it from other perspectives, the better decisions I can make about all the things I'm doing. So I do. I try actively, intentionally to look at it from all the different angles, from different people's perspectives, right? I run down my list in my head of people I know well enough to know how they would react to something. And how would this person see it, right? How would Sarah see it? How would Shirley see it? How would Andy see it? How would Jared see it? Right? I run through this list of people in my head that I know and go, how would this person see it? Right? I'm trying to get as many perspectives and angles as I can because it lets me make better decisions. But as a starting point, trying to intentionally see a different perspective on the things you encounter, see yours, see somebody else. Start with one. Just seeing it from at least one other perspective will emotionally help you register that there's more than one way to see or do something. This prepares you for the possibility of someone challenging your ideas on it because you are consciously aware that there are other perspectives on it and other ideas about how it is or how it's going to work or blah, 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 right? But by consciously, intentionally choosing to try and see at least one more perspective on something, you're preloading your brain and your emotions so you don't have an emotionally immature reaction. You can have an emotionally mature reaction because you're already prepared for the possibility of a challenge to your thought process. This will help you be emotionally more mature when it's more difficult to be emotionally more mature, right? When we get challenged in the way we do things, beliefs, things we believe in, the ideas we have, that's when emotional immaturity really tends to come out, right? Because we're like, someone's like, I don't agree with you. You're like, no, that's the right way. That's the only way. That's how we get it, right? That's when the 12-year-old comes out. Or my daughter's 11, so I'll be nicer than that. That's when like the 7-year-old or the 6-year-old comes out, right? No, right? No. Mentally prepare yourself ahead of time. that there's more than one perspective on things. There's more than one way to approach things. Like I said, I'm into look for as many perspectives as possible. But guys, we've got to stop scapegoating things that are out of our control or trying to make things out of our control. And that's where the emotional immaturity comes out a lot of times, right? Like I said, I'm not just bagging on astrology. My Jared's on here, and I know my friend Jared loves astrology, but I get so annoyed when people are like, well, Leo, yeah, man, right? Oh my goodness, no. That's a lazy excuse. That's an emotionally immature excuse. We're looking for something else to blame for what we did to justify what we did or what we said or what we thought. Not productive. So-and-so made me do it. No. Did anyone's parents actually ever ask them, like, well, if so-and-so jumped off the bridge, would you follow him too? Did anyone's parents ever ask them that? My dad asked me once, and then he stopped himself before he could finish it because he knew the friend I was talking about, or we were talking about, he knew I would absolutely follow him off the bridge because that was just us. But that's what we're trying to go with, right, guys? Responsibility. That's what our parents were trying to teach us. And we teach our kids all these things and then look the other way, right? When they become adults, we don't expect them to be that emotionally responsible person we were trying to teach them to be. We don't expect them to act with the emotional intelligence and responsibilities and maturity that we were trying to teach them as children. Oh, no. Now we let them run loose and be stupid and do stupid things and hurt other people, and they barely get their hands slapped. Don't be emotionally immature. If you want to be your best self, and look, like I said, I'm the first one to say we've all got some places to work on. I'm the first one to tell you, hey, I've got some things to work on. I can be a little closed-minded about some things for sure. So, guys, we all can work on this, but as we're trying to grow, right? As we're trying to become the best version of ourselves, as we're trying to become the people that we are meant to be and that we have the potential to be in our lives, whatever role we're in our lives, dealing with emotional immaturity in our life is really, really crucial, especially because other people are always watching, right? You may not think it's a big weakness for you, but somebody else is watching you. You may not have a kid. Somebody else is still watching you and learning how to gauge. Little eyes are always watching. And we have a responsibility as men to set an example. Guys, you are a quiet group tonight. Or, yeah, my brain's slow. You guys are a quiet group. I'm not seeing a whole lot of questions coming in, and I don't see any on the email. Guys, I always appreciate the time you spend with us. It's so valuable to me that you would actually spend time with us. I know time is so finite. So thank you for hanging out with us. As always, you guys make my Monday nights. I look forward to these times to be with you and to hang out with you because I love the community. If you're on Facebook and you're a guy, jump in on Fallible Nation. If you're not a member there, we have a constant community there where this conversation can continue on. And Shirley says this is a great show. We all need to get this. Thank you, Shirley. I always appreciate the encouragement. Mondays are a little intimidating sometimes. I'm still getting used to this. I don't like the fact that I can't hear you guys. But guys, thank you for taking the time. Be better tomorrow because of what you do today. And we'll see you on the next one.